Hello, I have a riddle story I want to share with you. It's called The Little Red House That Has No Doors or Windows and Has a Star at the Center of It. When lockdown was announced because of the pandemic, Tommy's grandmother was worried. She telephoned her daughter, Sarah, Tommy's mother. Oh, love, have you heard the news? I know, lockdown because of that virus thing. And I've got to be shielded. I think that's what they call it, because of my age and health. Oh, Sarah, love, what am I going to do? I can't manage now as it is. You know I've not been well for some time. Getting up in the mornings, oh, that is so hard. My joints are so stiff and so painful because of my arthritis. Now, you know I'm not one to complain, but Sarah, love, where I live, there's no help. What am I going to do? I'm so worried. But Sarah, Tommy's mother, she was not worried at all. Some years before, she'd been widowed. She'd become the breadwinner and had to look after her little boy Tommy as well. Sometimes she used to wonder when it would be her turn to look after her mother, and it had arrived. Don't worry, Mum, she responded back cheerfully on the telephone. It'll be fine. Yes, fine, I promise you. Tommy and I will come to live with you and we'll look after you. Yes, it'll be like as if we're a proper family once more. Quality time together. It'll be lovely. It was settled. Tommy and his mother moved from their house in town to live with his grandmother in the country. But for Sarah, her life suddenly became very, very busy. For not only did she have to work from home for her employer, she had to make certain that her son, Tommy, did all his lessons from school online, as well as looked after him. She had to look after the house, do the shopping, the cleaning, the meals, and the laundry. She had to look after the garden and get her mother up in the mornings too from bed. And that was not an easy task. For, having lain in bed all night long, Tommy's grandmother's joints were stiff. And oh, they were so painful every time she moved because of her arthritis. It made her very irritable. She'd often lose her temper and wag her finger at her daughter, but Sarah just let it go all over her head and got on with it. For Tommy, in the mornings he would be in high spirits and he'd run up and down the landing and he'd be shouting and singing and praising everything as he did at that age, thinking life was so wonderful. But from out of his grandmother's bedroom would come that peevish, irritable voice. Tommy, stop what you're doing. Keep quiet. My nerves. I'm feeling all jangled. They'll never be the same again. You are so inconsiderate, Tommy. I'm in a lot of pain. You can think of no one but yourself. And Tommy learned after a while to keep quiet in the mornings, but he also avoided his grandmother as much as possible. For living in the countryside, in the house of a sick person, was a very odd experience for Tommy. We missed his friends from the town where he lived. He loved his life there. He loved going out with his friends, and he was in contact with them because of WhatsApp and online gaming and texting them and other screen time together, but it wasn't enough. And he got bored, reading his comics yet again, playing with his toys yet again, and then maybe taking his bike out and going up and down the country lane by himself yet again. One day, he was really bored, and he knew his mother was upstairs in the study working, and his grandmother was in the living room knitting, and he didn't really want any contact with her. He thought he'd take a chance. So he climbed the stairs and knocked on the study door. "Yes, come in," called out his mother, and he opened it. And there he found her seated at her desk with her laptop opened, mobile phone, and pen and paper by the side of her. "What is it, Tommy, love?" she said. "Oh, Mom," he said, "it's boring being here. I don't like Grandma much. When are we going to go home? I don't like it here." And his mother sighed, and she put down her laptop lid, and she looked at him. "Oh, sweetie, you know we can't go home. We don't know when lockdown is going to end. Besides, your grandmother needs our help. She's not very well." "But she's always so grumpy," he scowled. "She shouted at me this morning, and I didn't do anything." "I know, honey, I know. She shouts at me too. But you have to think about it this way. She's in a lot of pain. She's not very well." And then an idea came to Tommy's mother's mind. "You like riddles, don't you?" Oh, Tommy loved riddles. He loved puzzles. And he nodded, "Yes." "Well, I've got one for you that I'd like you to solve for me, please." "Oh, what is it?" he asked. "What is a little red house, no windows, no doors, and has a star at the center? What do you think that could be?" Tommy was intrigued. "I don't know. What is it?" "Well, that's for you to go away and solve," she said. "When you have the answer, come back to me then. Now, honey, I've got a very important meeting. Go away and see me later, okay?" And she opened up her laptop and was instantly into the world of work. Well, Tommy closed the door behind him. He was thinking about that riddle as he walked along the landing. He walked down the stairs thinking about that riddle. He walked out into the back garden and sat down in the grass thinking about that riddle. What was it? Little red house, no doors, no windows, and a star in the center. That was a hard one. And while he was wondering about it, he then heard some humming from the other side of the fence. And he grinned suddenly. It was Mr. Jones, his grandmother's friend and neighbor. And Tommy really liked Mr. Jones, for he had a lot of jokes and stories to tell, and he was really funny. Maybe Mr. Jones could help him. So he looked up and said, "Mr. Jones," he called to him, "can you help me, please?" The humming stopped. Mr. Jones looked over the fence. "Hello, Tommy. What is it?" And Tommy told him about the riddle. "Oh," Mr. Jones scratched his head. "That's a tough one. I don't know the answer to that. But I tell you who would help you is your grandmother. She's a very wise woman." But Mr. Jones could see from the expression on Tommy's face that his grandmother was the last person he ever wanted to ask or speak to. And Mr. Jones laughed. "Come on, Tommy, she's not that bad. I know she's not very well at the moment, but she's a very wise woman. If ever I have any problems, I always go and speak to your grandmother, and she always helps me out. She might help you out too. Now, got some chores to do. Got to go away, but when you have the answer, come back to me. I'm interested." And he was gone. Tommy sighed. He dug his hands deep into the pockets of his trousers. His grandma. He didn't want to speak to her. But he had nothing to lose, so he turned and walked back into the house. Went into the living room, where his grandmother was seated on an armchair, quietly knitting. As soon as he entered the room, she looked up and she smiled at him. Oh, Tommy thought, relief. She's in a good mood. He took a risk. "Grandma?" "Yes, Tommy." She looked at him. "Can you help me, please? I've got something I don't know the answer to." She put her knitting down the lap. "All right, Tommy." And he told her about the riddle. "Oh, Goodness me, she said. That is a hard one, isn't it? Little red house, no doors, no windows, and a star in the center. Well, I'll tell you something now. There might be something that could help you. What is it? He was interested. Well, Tommy, it's the old apple tree down at the end of the garden. Tommy looked at her. Grandma, trees can't talk. Oh, goodness me, Tommy. Don't you remember when you were a little boy and used to come stay with me? I tell you about the story of the apple tree man who lived in the apple tree. That's the one, as you know, that your great grandfather, my father, planted when I was a little girl. The apple tree man, he lives there. Whenever I had any problems, I would go and stand underneath the tree and look up at the branches above, and I'd say, apple tree man, help me please. And he always gave me an answer. It might not have been the answer I liked, but he always gave me an answer. So, do you remember those stories, Tommy? And Tommy did. He remembered that when he was a very little boy, he loved to come to his grandmother's. At that time, she'd been a lot younger and in better health, and she told him all those wonderful stories of the apple tree man. And in that moment, he felt very close to her, but he still didn't quite believe that you could talk to a tree. What have you got to lose, Tommy? His grandmother said. Why don't you just go and give it a try? And then when you get an answer, come back and tell me. I'll be waiting for you here. Well, Tommy had nothing to lose, so he did as he was told. Went out of the house, down the garden path, to the end of the garden, where he saw the old, gnarled, bent apple tree, rooted into the earth, and hanging from some of the branches were some bright, rosy red apples. He went and stood underneath the branches and looked up. Oh, did he feel silly? But he said, apple tree man, can you help me please? And all of a sudden, one of those bright rosy red apples dropped at his feet. He looked at it in his hand. A little red house. No windows, no doors. That was the riddle. It was an apple. He looked up. Thank you, apple tree man, thank you. But then he thought again. The star in the center. I've never seen a star in an apple before when I've cut it open. Maybe Grandma could help me. And with that, he turned and ran up the path back into the house, where he went to the living room and said, Grandma, it was an apple. That was it. You're right. The apple tree man did give me an answer. It's an apple. But I've never seen a star in the middle of an apple before. Well, Tommy, his grandma said, let's go into the kitchen and find out if there is a star in the apple. Now come on, give me my walker and help me get up. So he put her walker right in front of her. And with his help, and she pushed herself up and she grabbed hold of her walker, and they made their way slowly into the kitchen. There she sat at the kitchen table. She asked Tommy to bring a chopping board and a sharp knife, which he did. Put it on the table. She took that apple, she put it on the chopping board, and she cut it down the center. And when she opened it, there was the star in the center of the apple. Oh, Grandma, he said, there's a star. Oh, I love that. I've never seen a star before in an apple. Do you think this is a star they take from the sky? Well, the star from the dark sky above? Could be, Tommy, his grandmother said with a twinkle in her eye. And just think, if you were in a little red house with no windows or no doors, and you had starlight inside to light it up, wouldn't that be lovely? Well, Tommy, I'm feeling a lot better now, and I want to do a bit of baking. Would you like to help me? Make an apple pie or an apple crumble?" Tommy nodded. "Fine. But what you'll have to do is you'll have to go back to the apple tree, speak nicely to the apple tree man, ask him for some apples, and then we can get started. All right?" Tommy nodded, and he turned and was gone. And that's the end of my story. It was a riddle. You might have actually worked out the answer from early on in the story, but I hope you've enjoyed it, and thank you so much for listening.